Hello everybody, hope you're fantastic. My name is Gavin Mkabela. I hope that you're great. I hope that you're fantastic wherever that you may be. Guys, I don't know if you are aware, but we're almost halfway through the year. Imagine that. The other day we were celebrating, hooray, Happy New Year, and now we're sitting at almost halfway through the year. Imagine that. But anyway, I hope that you are great. I hope that you are fantastic. I hope that you're still in line with your goals for 2022. We still have time, guys. We still have time, but we need to push. We need to push. I also just wanted just to highlight, guys, the issue of mental health. I mean, we're going through so many things. And I hope that we are looking after ourselves mentally, physically. And if you're going through stuff, please make sure that you talk to somebody. Make sure that you reach out to somebody close to you, so that you can let it all out, because it can be too much. There is just so many things going on. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about refinancing. Now, I've spoken about refinancing before. I think I have about 2 videos that I've posted on my YouTube where I've been talking about refinancing, especially when it comes to property. Now, I'm going to be talking about that again. Why? Because a lot of people are really coming to me and say, Gavin, what exactly is this refinancing? How does it work? And I really want to break it down as simple as I can. All right. Now, refinancing, basically how I define it, is where you go back to the bank to borrow more money or to amend your initial agreement with the bank. So going back to the bank to borrow more money because you borrowed money before. Then the other one is where you go back to the bank to then renegotiate the terms of your agreement. All right, so let's start now with basically going back to the bank to borrow more money. How does that work? Right, so on that front, there is 2 types that I talk about. There is refinancing on equity, and then there's refinancing on capital appreciation. So that's how I name them, right? So I know people go and Google and it doesn't come out that way. I just name it that way because it just makes sense to me. So one is equity, and then the other one is capital appreciation. So let's start with equity. So I'll make an example. So Gavin sees this flat, amazing flat, for 100,000. And then Gavin decides to buy this flat. This flat goes for 100,000, but Gavin doesn't have this 100,000. So Gavin goes to the bank and apply for a bond, so a mortgage. So Gavin then applies for this 100,000. The bank grants the 100,000, and Gavin now has this flat. So Gavin uses this flat for investment. So meaning that there will be a tenant renting, with regards to this property. Now, let's say the tenant pays 1,000 every month, and basically that's what Gavin will be getting in the form of rental income. And let's say now this 1,000 covers the expenses of this property. So we are all good. Gavin is happy. All right. So that is now, the process of buying this flat. Now, years down the line, after many years, the bond is sitting at 10,000 because the money that has been paid in is 90,000. So Gavin, through Gavin and the tenant, 90,000 was paid into this bond, and now the balance is sitting at 10,000. Now Gavin goes back to the bank and say, bank, I want to borrow against this 90,000 that I've paid in. So all these years I've paid in 90,000, but I want to borrow against this 90,000. So I want this 90,000 back. So now the bank will check and say yes, and it means now the bond will go back to 100,000. So that's pretty much, that is why I say equity, because it's money that has been paid into this bond, and then Gavin then takes it out again, and then it means that the balance go back to 100,000. So that's on equity. Now let's talk about capital appreciation. So capital appreciation is where now, let's use the same example. Gavin sees this flat for 100,000, goes to the bank, apply for the bond, the bond is granted, and now Gavin has this 100,000 bond and the property, and the tenant is paying the rent. Now after many years, or after a couple of years, the property now appreciates to 200,000. So meaning that the value or the current market value of the property is sitting at 200,000, meaning that there has been an appreciation of 100,000 with regards to that property, right? Which is fantastic because now we have equity. So now Gavin then decides like, wow, okay, this is wonderful. I've seen another flat somewhere, it's going for 100,000. But now that one I want to buy it cash, but I don't have cash. So what do? Gavin then goes back to the bank and then say, bank, I want to get a further bond because my property initially I bought it for 100,000. Now it has appreciated to 200,000. So I want to borrow against this 100,000 that has appreciated. So then the bank checks everything and say, Gavin, no, you're good to go. And then they give Gavin the 100,000. Gavin takes the 100,000 and buys this property cash. So now Gavin has two properties and one of them is paid cash. So of course the bond is gonna go up, right? Because he now has borrowed again against the property. So he's borrowed the additional 100,000. So now it means that the value the amount of the bond is now sitting at 200,000. Now it means the installment has gone up. But now Gavin has bought this other property and is also renting this other property. So meaning that this tenant is now paying for the additional installment that Gavin now finds himself with, right? So which is a win-win situation. Gavin is not, let's say if everything works out perfectly, Gavin is not paying anything, so tenant number 2, tenant number 1 are paying for this bond. But Gavin now has two properties, one is paid up, one is still bonded. Fantastic. Gavin is very happy. So that's pretty much on refinancing on equity, refinancing on capital appreciation. The other one is where you go back to the bank. So let's say initially when you took up this bond, when Gavin went to buy this property, let's say Gavin maybe the credit score was not that great, so Gavin got a higher interest rate, right? Or Gavin at the time didn't know how to work, with loan terms, why you take a longer loan term from an affordability perspective, So let's say Gavin took 20 years, but Gavin realized, okay, actually, if I take 30 years and, from an affordability perspective, that can help me because I can still pay extra into the bond. So Gavin decides, no, man, I want to firstly go back to the bank and look at renegotiating my interest rate and also renegotiate my loan term, right? So that you can do, because a lot of the times as well, I meet people who will be sitting with higher interest rates and you ask, why is it so high? Maybe, I just started working and, the bank obviously find me to be a bit risky, and then they give you a higher interest rate, but then they don't know that you can actually go back and renegotiate, and then the bank can give you a lower interest rate, which is beautiful. And that is where we really, really love real estate, really love property, really love going to the bank and get mortgages or bonds, because you can always go back and renegotiate. With other things it's really difficult to do that, but with real estate, with property, you can definitely do that. So in a nutshell, that's what it is, refinancing on equity, refinancing on value, and then going back to the bank and really to renegotiate the loan terms that can now suit where you are at this present moment. So I hope this definitely will really assist you. If you still have any questions, please drop a comment below and I can be able to assist you further, and answer any questions that you might have. So yeah, fantastic. I thought I should do this and I hope you find benefit in it. And please don't forget to subscribe. Click on that red button to subscribe and like the video, share it with everybody, and yeah, so that we can be able to transfer the knowledge. Very, very important. Gavin Kabela signing out. Thank you so much again for being part of this video and I truly, truly appreciate it. See you on the flip side.